for a while inside the company, getting to 1 billion people was this big rallying cry, right? And when we actually started getting closer to it, it became pretty apparent that it's not, no one wakes up in the morning saying, okay, I want to get 1/7 of the people in the world to do something. Now the focus for us is actually kind of retooling, and you're going to see us retooling the company in a lot of ways to go take on a lot of harder problems that fulfill this mission. So, for example, connecting the next 5 billion people. It's going to be really hard because a lot of them don't have internet access. We want to play a role in helping people build companies and create jobs and build the knowledge economy. So those are the big themes for us, and that's what we're going to try to do over the next 5 or 10 years. But that's kind of what I've tried to focus us on.
So Twitter's going to go public. Now, you've gone through the whole thing. What's your advice to them as they consider this process?
I actually think that it's made our company a lot stronger. Because the process of leading up to going public, you have to know everything about your company and kind of inside out have everything instrumented. And I always thought we were a very data-driven company, but I mean the work that Ebersman and crew did to get us ready to be public really took this to the next level. And we run our company a lot better now.
I'm going to go with a personal question now, if you don't mind. I don't know how many people realize that you have every year. I think you have a personal challenge, where you challenge yourself to do something crazy, interesting, hard. Do you have one this year? And I don't know what it is if you do have one.
This year my challenge is to meet a new person outside of Facebook every day. It's actually turned out to be really easy. But when I was planning this out, I kind of set up things to get more involved in the community. I started teaching a class at a local middle school. I got involved in different organizations to meet people who do different things. And it's been really interesting.
The middle school class is what led to Forward.us, is that right?
Yeah. One day after class, I asked the students how they were thinking about going to college. And one of the top students in the class raised his hand and said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go to college because I'm undocumented. So I asked the other kids, I'm like, how many of you were born outside of the US? And a bunch of them put their hands up. And one of them said, I really hope our government does something about this. So I called a bunch of my friends who run companies, right? I mean, I called Drew Houston, and I called, Chamath and Kohler, who had been at Facebook, and Ron
Conway,
sitting right there. And
yeah.
I've never really been prouder of my peers in the community for coming together to work on an important issue like that.
Who do you think should be the next CEO of Microsoft?
There are probably a lot of people who can run Microsoft and do a reasonable job. When I was growing up, Bill Gates was my hero.
Oh, come on.
Yes.
He's like Darth Vader. He's not Luke Skywalker.
No.
He's the bad guy.
No, he is not. Bill Gates ran one of the most mission-driven companies that I can think of.
Would you consider Home so far a failure?
Yeah, I'd say it's early in its development. It's a bit slower than I probably would have thought, but we're patient, and I still fully believe that this is going to be something that a lot of people want over time.
There was somebody at TechCrunch referred to it as a shit show. So you're saying you disagree with that?
We released the first version of Home as a separate app, and we kind of intentionally did that, just that people who wanted could go out of their way to the Play Store and go get it. But where this is going over time, once we get it to a point where we're really happy with the product, we'll just kind of prompt people in the Facebook app, turn this on, and you won't have to go download a separate app.
What are you excited about product-wise that would surprise us?
We haven't spent much time talking about the internet.org stuff, which I think is probably not surprising because it's announced. We live in a world where everyone around us has high-speed internet access. So it's kind of unfathomable for us to think that only about 1/3 of the people in the world have access to the internet. Then you think, okay, well, the internet is really the backbone of the modern knowledge economy, and all the opportunities that we have, and the ability to have a free society and tap into jobs and education and all this stuff. And there are 5 billion phones in the world, right? The vast majority are feature phones. There are about 1.5 billion smartphones. And the common lore is smartphones are getting cheaper and cheaper. So as they get cheaper, one day all 5 billion of those feature phones are going to be smartphones. The expensive part of ownership of a phone is actually not the phone, it's the data, right? If you have an iPhone for 2 years, it costs about $2,000 to own an iPhone for 2 years. $500 or $600 of that is the phone, right? $1,500 is the data, right? So unless the data price comes down, we're never going to be at a point where the vast majority of the world will be able to be on the internet. And that's what we're trying to focus on and trying to work with other companies to enable by making the infrastructure to provide the internet cheaper, making it so that the biggest and most frequently used apps just consume less data, so that way they're cheaper to use and they require less data. That's probably not much of a surprise.
You intend to make this happen, don't you? You intend to put the rest of the world
Oh,
online,
yeah.
don't you?
I mean, this is why we are here.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, your first question was what has changed, and my answer was, all the tactics change all the time, but mission doesn't change. That's who we are. We are on this earth to connect everyone and help people share more of what they want, and we will do this.